Halloween is one of my favorite holidays, so I thought it would be fun to play a game with you guys. I have 4 separate creepy video game stories, and you're going to guess which ones are true or just creepypastas. If you would like to play along, leave a comment after the first story telling me whether you think it's true or made up. Then keep watching, and after the second story, go edit your comment adding your guess for that story as well, and do the same for all 4. Some of you will definitely know some of these, so just don't leave a guess for whichever ones you've already heard. And at the end, I'll tell you what's true and what is false, plus go into more detail. Berzerk is an arcade game made by Stern Electronics in 1980, and it was the first game in history to kill 2 of its players. Berzerk was a very successful game invented by Andrew McNeil after having a nightmare where he was stuck inside a video game with robots that went insane and are now trying to kill. In the real game, you have to make your way through a maze while shooting robots, dodging their shots, and without touching anything or else you die. And out of nowhere, Evil Otto, a bouncy smiley face, tries to kill you, but he can't be harmed. It was one of the first games that could speak. It spoke to you as you played, and as you passed by the machine while in attract mode, it would call out trying to get you to play. In 1981, a 19-year-old boy dropped dead of a heart attack right after playing Berzerk for hours and hitting a high score of 16,660. As you may know, 666 is the biblical sign of the devil. Just a year later, in 1982, there was an 18-year-old boy who frequented his local arcade. As he arrived one day, he started playing Berzerk. After just 15 minutes, only 2 games in, he set 2 high scores, and right after entering his initials, he took a few steps and collapsed, and was later pronounced dead. To make it even more unsettling, 6 years later, in 1988, at the same arcade where the previous boy had died, a 17-year-old boy was stabbed to death after playing Berzerk. Now go into the comments and tell me if you think this was true, or maybe part of it was true, or was it completely fabricated years ago to scare people? Did this game have a part to play in their deaths? Let me know what you think, and be honest. In 2012, a guy went garage sailing for some Nintendo 64 games. He came across this creepy old man and wound up buying a beat-up cartridge with no label, but it had Majora written on it with black marker. So thinking this was Majora's Mask, he bought it. When he returned to the dorm to play his game, he found a save file named Ben. He left it there and made his own save. He came across a glitch where NPCs would sometimes call him Ben instead of Link, so he deleted Ben's file thinking it would help. Then, after performing the 4th day glitch, more strange glitches started to happen and it really freaked him out. Songs were being played in reverse, and he thought he even heard laughter in the distance, characters were out of place, and when he attempted to drown himself, his screen flashed and the Link statue from the Elegy of Emptiness appeared, staring at him. He said it felt like it was staring at him through the screen. The game's story became dark, and he kept running into the same lines, saying, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" He figured it had to be some hacked version of Majora's Mask. He started having nightmares of the Link statue following him, and he referred to it as Ben. At one point, Ben's save reappeared even though he had deleted it, and to make it even more freaky, the storyline in the hacked game seemed to imply that Ben had drowned. When he went back to ask the old man about it, he found out that the old man had moved, but a neighbor wound up telling him that there was a young man named Ben that died 8 years ago in the neighborhood due to an accident. He went home and he loaded up Ben's save and found even more glitches. Link's body was distorted, the music sounded kind of demonic, and the statue reappeared behind him. Then he was ported again and again, with the creepy message being repeated 2 more times. Then he was drowned. The game then forced him to the title screen, and another save file appeared below Ben's, and it was named Drowned. Then the guy lost his shit and posted about it online, including some videos for proof, which are still up and you can go watch them. Okay, let me know what you think. Was it true or fake? Go edit your comment below and be honest. In 1981, several Portland, Oregon arcades added a new cabinet to their lineups, an unheard-of game called Polybius. With graphics ahead of its time and being a shooter with puzzle elements, it became immensely popular at the few locations where it was available. Lines would form to play it, with some just showing up to watch others play it, claiming the game was almost hypnotic. However, in a short amount of time, players stated they heard a crying woman in the game and began seeing horrific faces in the corners of their eyes. Many claimed they suffered from nausea, nightmares, extreme headaches, amnesia, and there were even a few reports of players blacking out. After playing for prolonged periods of time, a few of them are said to have committed suicide, and there was even a disappearance. An owner of one of the arcades noticed men in black suits coming into his arcade to collect records from the Polybius cabinets. They never took any money from the machines, only what they called gameplay data. Theories began to arise that the government had some form of involvement, and these games could be part of the CIA's MKUltra mind control program. The theory gains validity with the US government's involvement with commercial video games to train military personnel. One example is a modified version of Doom 2, which was sold to the US Marines in the mid-90s to train for special missions. One day, all of the Polybius cabinets mysteriously disappeared without a trace or any information to track them. 17 years later, one reappeared in an arcade, only to disappear immediately after. Attempts have been made to recreate the game to show what it was like, but the original ROM has never been found. People still talk about this game, and one time Polybius had a cameo in a Simpsons episode. Petscop was an unheard-of PlayStation 1 game created by a company named Garalina in 1997. It finally emerged this year on YouTube through a brand new channel where someone named Paul made a Let's Play series out of it. Like the story of the haunted Majora game, Petscop has many glitches and looks unfinished. The aim of the game appears to be catching animals like in Pokemon, solving puzzles, and gathering gems. But then when he uses a cheat code that was given to him by the person that originally sent him the copy of the game, he winds up in a dark underworld of the game. Throughout the Let's Plays, it gets creepier and creepier.
Okay. So that's not what it said before when I put in that question. What the fuck?
Paul, the guy recording, starts to censor some things.
What the fuck?
and from the graves of children to the creepy child's library where you can discard the kids you catch as pets, the game heavily implies that it's telling stories of child abuse. It's telling an utterly disturbing, and I mean really fucking disturbing story of a 10-year-old girl named Candace Newmaker that was tortured to death. I repeat, this story really is disturbing, so if you don't want to hear it, I'd skip to whatever time I put on the screen right now. Candace Tiara Elmore was born into an abusive family, April 18th, 2000. She and her siblings were taken by social services, separated. 2 years later, Candace wound up getting adopted by Jean Elizabeth Newmaker, a single middle-aged pediatric nurse practitioner in Durham, North Carolina. Newmaker claims that Candace had psychological problems so advanced that she started a fire in her own home, regularly flew into hour-long rages, that she sexually assaulted 2 children, that she became extremely defensive at home and extremely negative. However, Candace's teachers claim that she was not badly behaved at all. First, Newmaker put Candace on mood-altering drugs, then turned to a very expensive $7,000 2-week intensive controversial therapy session known as attachment therapy, where they held Candace down under a blanket, pillows, and 4 grown adults weighing 673 pounds in total leaned on her 70-pound body to simulate birthing. They told her to scream and cry and wiggle her way out like she was being reborn into her adoptive mother's arms. They expected her to do this for over an hour while under all of that weight. And this is all recorded onto a 2-hour video. I'm going to read the transcript of that video and add the timestamps on the screen. It's very disturbing, so if you want to skip this part, you should. I'm so excited. I'm going to have a brand new baby. I hope it's a girl. I'm going to love her, to hold her, and to tell her stories. I'm going to keep her very safe. Every day we'll be together and she'll be with me forever. If the baby doesn't decide to be born, she will die. When the baby decides to be born, it's a wonderful thing. If you stay in there, you're going to die, and your mommy's going to die. Who's sitting on me? I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Whoever is pushing on my head is not helping. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't breathe. It's too dark under here. Please quit pushing on my head. I can't do it. Somebody's sitting on top of me. Somebody's on top of me. I can't do it. I'm gonna die. Ponder. Do you want to be reborn or do you want to stay in there and die? Quit pushing on me, please. Quit squishing my legs. I'm gonna die now. Do you want to die? No, but I'm about to. Please, please, I can't breathe. I can't do it anymore. Please quit pushing on me. I need some help. Help me, please. Are you feeling the contractions, Mom? I am. Please, please. Okay, I'm dying. Okay, I'm dying. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm dying. I'm going to die. I want to die. Can you let me have some oxygen? You mean like you want me to die for real? Die right now and go to heaven? Go ahead and die right now. For real. For real. Candace says in response. Okay, I'm dead. 17 minutes in, she starts to breathe heavily. Get off. I'm sick. Get off. Where am I supposed to come out? Where? Watkins says in response. Just go ahead and die. It's easier. It takes a lot of courage to be born. You said you would give me oxygen, Watkins says in response. You gotta fight for it. Candace starts to vomit. Okay, I'm throwing up. I just threw up. She vomits again and desperately tells him that she has to poop. Candace starts to go in her pants. In response, Ponder says, go ahead, Watkins says. Stay in there with the poop and vomit. Help, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's hot. I can't breathe. In response, Newmaker says, I'm so excited to have this baby. I'm waiting for you, to love you and hold you. Ponder says in response, scream, Candace. No. Jack McDaniel repositions himself on a pillow over Candace's head. Ponder says, Candace? There's no response. She gets to be stuck in her own puke and poop. Watkins. It's her own life, quitter. In response, Candace uttered her last word. No. Watkins. Candace is used to making her life everybody else's problem. She's not used to living her own life. Ponder. Quitter, 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 quit, 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 quit. She's a quitter. McDaniel. This baby doesn't want to live. She's a quitter. Watkins tells McDaniel and St. Clair to take a break. Ponder and Watkins discuss someone who is stressed, then chit-chat about their dream homes and a $1 million property nearby that is being remodeled. All while Candace is laying there dead in her own puke. Watkins, let's talk to the twerp. They unwrap Candace. Oh, there she is, sleeping in her own vomit. Candace was unconscious, not breathing, and without a pulse. Candace's mother screams out, she's dead. They call 911. Candace was airlifted to a hospital and the next morning was pronounced dead. In the end, they tortured that girl, they killed her, and they wound up facing hardly any time. So throughout the series, Paul is acting as if this is a real game that was actually created in 1997 and that those recordings were the first time that he's played through the game. So the question is Petscop a real game? Can you actually play this game? Is it just an animation? It's definitely telling the story of Candace Newmaker, but is Paul just acting? Did he create this game or animation? Is this just another ARG creepypasta? Let me know what you think. Okay, let's see if they were true or false, or just very fucking misleading, and I'll go into more detail. Berzerk was true, but very misleading, and one of the deaths I'm pretty sure didn't happen at all, yet people still report it as real. Peter Bukowski, the second boy that was 18, did die in 1982, and he did actually play Berzerk for about 15 minutes, got 2 high scores, entered his initials, and then took a few steps and collapsed dead. But people like to leave out the details. It was wintertime and he had walked a few miles in the snow before arriving at the arcade. On the way there, his friend that was with him said he was complaining that he's thirsty and short of breath. They got a soda, and then they arrived at the arcade. His friend said Bukowski was struggling to breathe, and it was obvious to others around him that he wasn't well. Bukowski decided to play Berzerk anyway. His family ordered an autopsy, which resulted in finding out that he had scar tissue from an undiagnosed heart condition called PC, and his was the rarest form of it. PC often has no symptoms. Children that have it could suddenly die if a physically demanding exercise triggers a cardiac incident. It's all very sad, but Berzerk did not kill him. Jeff Daly is the 19-year-old boy that apparently dropped dead after setting a high score of 16,660, and his is the more popular story that people like to tell. A lot of people believe this one is true, but I'm pretty sure it's not. The source of the story was from a small indie game magazine that was very short-lived. They reported that he had died after playing the game for hours on one quarter, that he had a heart attack, and that he set a high score of 16,660 before dying. There is no record of Jeff Daly, that's 19, dying in an arcade around that time. The only obituaries with that name around that time were for 2 elderly men and a Jeff Daly that was 19 who died in a car crash nowhere near the arcade. And when you compare the time of deaths from the story with the actual obituary, they're months apart. And about the creepy high score, I think it was just an add-on to scare people, and apparently it's sketchy that he'd get such a low score as a high score after playing for hours on just one quarter. The last story where the guy was stabbed to death is completely true, but it was just a coincidence that he was playing Berzerk right before someone got into a fight with him and then he wound up getting stabbed. So the stories are true, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Daly, the creepy one with the numbers, is completely fake. But Peter Bukowski, his story is true and the stabbing is real, but Berzerk did not kill them. It was just a coincidence. But it's more fun for people to believe this stuff, so if you want to believe it, go ahead. Okay, next up we have the Haunted Majora's Mask. Completely fake. I had to leave out the bulk of his story because it was so incredibly dumb. Even when this came out years ago, I couldn't believe so many people fell for it. At one point, he even wrote about Cleverbot having full-length conversations with him as the ghost of Ben. And how did this happen, you may ask? Well, the game's ghost gained access to his computer through his capture card cables. Like, come on. This story was hilarious, and I'll leave the links below if you want to check out the guy's channel. As for Polybius, there were several people who did get sick at a single Portland arcade, and the news ran wild with stories that games may be making children sick, even though one was 12 and they had been playing for 28 hours and drank so much Coke that they had a stomachache and had to stop playing. So of course they're gonna get sick. No 1981 copyright is said to exist with the name Polybius, and no arcade collector is known to have one on any of the collector websites. The legend is believed to have first appeared in GamePro magazine in 2003. As for the reports of the Men in Black showing up, it could have been that because apparently arcades were a hot spot for drugs and some owners would rig their machines to pay out players with high scores, earning more return business that way. It was against gambling laws and several arcades were raided. Some say that Polybius never existed at all and it was completely made up because they didn't have the technology back then to make that type of game. And if the government was involved, they wouldn't exactly want a patent listed to link to a secret project with other projects such as the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. And honestly, it wouldn't be that much of a leap in logic to believe that the government would test an extreme psychology experiment on the general public. For those that don't know, between the years 1932 and 1972, the Public Health Service offered treatment to around 400 black males who had syphilis, except they didn't give them treatment and they didn't tell them they had syphilis. 15 years into the experiment, penicillin became available but was withheld as researchers wanted to observe the effects on their bodies. By 1972, only 74 remained alive, 40 had infected their wives, and 19 children were born with congenital syphilis. And the experiment only ended in 1972 because there was a leak bringing about public outcry. For years, Holmesburg Prison in Pennsylvania served as a chemical, radioactive, and pesticide test site with a reported 80 to 90% of its inmates becoming test subjects. The director of these experiments, Albert Kligman, said when referring to the prisoners, "All I saw before me were acres of skin. It was like a farmer seeing a fertile field for the first time." There are tons of interesting and terrifying stories surrounding MKUltra, which is why we see MKUltra in so many horror movies, even in Stranger Things. So perhaps Polybius did exist as an experiment since arcades were seen as a place where undesirables gathered, and video games themselves could be used as a scapegoat for the media to call into question. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. Without completely solid evidence to back up either side, it is left up to you. And last but not least, Petscop. All of it was true, but Carolina isn't a real company, so it probably isn't a real game. But there really is no way to know for sure the answer to the mystery of the creation of Petscop. Until Paul releases more information, it's left up to you to decide. I agree with most people in that it's a fake Let's Play series used to immerse us as viewers into the story Paul's trying to tell through the game he and others probably created. It's honestly a masterpiece in ARG. I'd highly recommend watching the videos and subscribing to his channel. There are 10 videos of Petscop so far, and I'll put a link below for if you want to watch them. Or if you want to wait, I'll probably be covering the full story and theories of Petscop once more videos are released. Paul kind of implied that there will be more videos, so if he does ever upload more, I'll probably cover it. While this video was pretty fun to make, I hope you guys enjoyed it somewhat. I'm sure a lot of you sub for Overwatch content. Don't worry, I'm not giving up on Overwatch. I will still make Overwatch content. I've been working on stuff and I don't want to get your hopes up, but I'm trying to structure things to where I can upload more than twice a week possibly. So look forward to that if that works out. Happy Halloween! If you're staying inside for the night, I recommend watching Stranger Things, of course, or What We Do in the Shadows. It's a comedy, it's fucking hilarious, and I think most people can enjoy the movie whether they like or really hate horror movies. Anyway guys, spook you later.